There we
to
go.
TikTok by Old Fogey John. The brief clip shows the TikToker's window late at night. The house is brightly lit inside, but outside
Well, this was totally
the sky
worth
is
it.
totally black. Unfortunately, the night is far from peaceful. If you watch closely, you may notice something strange lurking outside. Take a look. You can see what looks like small glowing eyes through the left-hand side of the window.
Isn't it just the guy in the window?
Then another set becomes visible, this time on the right. It seems that there's actually two figures peering through the glass. To some viewers, their indistinct shapes resemble descriptions of the cryptid known as the Mothman, a tall
never
brown
seen
or grey
Mothman.
creature with large wings
Okay.
and glowing eyes. So what do you think it shows?
From
Creepy
that
cryptids,
perspective,
a
it didn't
pair of
look like any
peeping
Mothman
toms,
I'd ever
or
seen.
something else entirely? Let me know where you land on this in the comments down below.
Not what I thought at all.
Abandoned places are a favourite of both urban explorers and paranormal investigators alike. In this video, the Terra Al Extremo team searches an abandoned church for evidence of the infamous La Llorona. According to South American folklore, La
Slapped him with
Llorona is
that
thought to be a vengeful spirit, the
spot
ghost of
on
a woman who's been
pronunciation.
left to eternally search for her lost children. She is similar to the more common woman in white. However, in the case of La Llorona, she's said to search for her children near bodies of water, as that's where she drowned them in a moment of madness. In the footage, we see the team explore an area around an old abandoned church that is located near a lake. An area, it seems, where they think such a spirit may reside.
Yeah, for such like a widespread myth story,
After searching for some time, they
You would've
finally
thought the
catch a
movie would
glimpse
be
of something
a
unusual.
little bit more
Take a
interesting.
look.
Cricket stridulating?
Just as they turn the corner,
Is that actually stridulating is a word? I've never heard that before. Yeah, I guess it is. Stridulation is the act of producing sound by rubbing together certain body parts. This behavior is mostly associated with insects. But other animals are known to do this as well, as a number of species of fish, snakes, and spiders. So when you rub some meat together, even if it's
just as
not
they
producing
turn the
a
corner,
pitch
they
that's
manage to
audible, you're
inadvertently
stridulating.
capture a mysterious dark figure that quickly slinks out of sight.
For some of you
Not
people,
long
that might be a
after,
good
as the team is exploring the interior of the building, we see what appears to be the same
might be a good
figure
Tinder line.
once again.
tell someone you want to come over and stridulate.
The figure then seems to make one final appearance right near the end of their investigation. At first, it's difficult to notice.
like a
However,
Dark
if you
Souls
brighten the
character.
footage, you can actually see it appears to be flying through the air.
Looks like King Xanatos.
¿Sí los tienes?
Sí, los vi, sí los tomé.
So has the Terra Al Extremo team managed to capture evidence of La Llorona haunting the area around this old church? Or was it perhaps just a squatter? If the latter is true, then how does one explain the figure's seeming ability to levitate?
No inventes.
They got a big head. Whatever it was.
TikToker Dino Nugget 741 believes his house is haunted and has decided to document the occurrences for all to see online.
That's a weird...
We've featured several of his videos
Be
before.
real.
However, in this one it seems he might have
The
actually
house is
captured
bizarre
visual
looking.
evidence of the entity that is supposedly haunting him. The footage begins as we see the TikToker watching TV. Suddenly, he hears a strange noise and gets up to investigate.
Those zigzags on the table.
Cautiously, he looks around.
Who just
Then
keeps
as he enters
like
the
a pack of
bathroom, the
rolling
source of the
papers,
mysterious
out
sound
on the
becomes
coffee table,
apparent.
but everything else is clean? What kind of psychopath are you?
His shower has seemingly turned itself on. The TikToker then remarks that this is the reason his water bill is so high.
Why my water bill's $600 a month?
He continues investigating the surrounding area, checking the toilet, then the
Yeah,
walk-in
look at the
closet.
bidet.
Suddenly, another noise startles him and he immediately heads back into the bathroom. It seems as though the potential poltergeist has struck again, this time turning the sink faucet on while the TikToker's back was turned.
Yeah, that's a crafty little bathroom.
Things then reach a new level of creepy when he heads over to turn the water off. Take a look at what he's captured on camera.
I'm standing right here.
That looks like the
If you
fucking
watch the
grandpa
mirror
from
closely,
Stardew Valley's
you'll
bed.
notice that a dark shadowy figure appears to pass behind him.
think it
I'm
looks-
standing right here.
Not very comfortable.
Initially, the TikToker doesn't seem to notice anything as he can be heard muttering that he needs to move house.
Nothing. Time to move.
Some viewers think that the figure might simply be an accomplice, one that's been unintentionally caught fleeing the scene after turning on the faucet. However, the TikToker did give us a good look at the surrounding area beforehand and there didn't seem to be anyone there. Furthermore, there were no obvious hiding spots that looked big enough for a person to hide.
Well, it's a pretty nice little house. You think that the bathtub was like a
Take another look at the
spa tub.
mysterious figure. What do you think?
Look at that
Has
thing.
this TikToker really captured video proof of the poltergeist that's said to be haunting his house?
I would just deal
Let
with
me know
it.
your thoughts on this in the comments down below.
I like the sound of the water being on, honestly. If I was like sleeping and I woke up in the middle of the night and the water was on in the bathroom, that'd be fine. I'd just go back to bed.
I don't know what you want me to do, Bob. See, nothing in here, man.
When Redditor Outrageous Sector 67 moved onto an old farm somewhere in the outer suburbs of Minneapolis,
Sick name.
they decided to set up a trail camera. Likely expecting to catch a glimpse of the local wildlife, they were probably unnerved by what the camera actually captured.
Yeah, I love like a
Take a look.
droning sound like that, like an air conditioner.
Instead of deer or another animal, the image appears to show a ghostly figure. It's wearing a long white dress and looks to have strange hair, or is possibly
of
wearing a
red hair.
bonnet of some kind. Several Redditors place the style of the attire in the 1920s, while others think it could be even older, perhaps that of a local native tribe.
What?
The figure also appears to be semi-transparent and seems to be floating across the land. The mystery gets even stranger as, according to the poster, the camera actually took a series of 3 photos, but this was the only one that showed the mysterious figure. As is the case with many of these types of trail cam images, there's always a chance that it's simply captured a regular person.
Couldn't it not even
walking
be a
through the
person?
area.
Couldn't that just be like,
However, in this instance, the figure is dressed so strangely that there's certainly a reason to suspect that it's
man.
not a regular person. So could this really
A
be some
sheep
sort of paranormal entity?
floating around
or is
for
there
some
another
reason?
way to explain
Looks
this bizarre
bizarre.
photo?
It looks like a fucking Mars Attacks alien or something. With the giant fucking brain exposed.
This next video on our list is certainly a strange one.
Collision
It was
reality.
uploaded to YouTube by Animetrics, however its actual origins are unknown.
Come on.
In the clip, we see a cat standing on the sidewalk, possibly outside a store. Amazingly, this furry feline seems to be walking in place, as if it's on an invisible treadmill. Its little feet glide across the ground while its body remains in
I
the
don't-
exact same spot.
I don't know about that one. I don't know
So
about
could
that
this
being
be,
anything
as
close
some
to a
viewers
glitch
have
in the
noted, a
Matrix.
glitch in the Matrix? After a few seconds, a passerby approaches the cat. However, as they do, the animal immediately begins to walk normally.
It's on a leash, you're right. You can see it.
The person leaves, then the cat goes right back to its impromptu moonwalk.
And it's just like a smooth
One
piece of
theory
metal
is
or
that the
something
cat
like
might
that.
be
So
on a
like,
leash, which is holding it in place as it
There it
attempts to
is.
move forward.
there it is, Ham.
Watch the clip one more time and let me know your explanation for this bizarre sighting.
He's just generating electricity.
Recently, security cameras have become a great source of strange and inexplicable footage. Whether it's due to their poor compression rate or perhaps
Yeah, there's
some
all
other
sorts of
glitch
comments
is
calling him like a
debatable.
fucking idiot. and
Whatever the
stuff.
case may be, they certainly do capture some rather creepy things.
He loves it.
This footage, uploaded to Reddit by EvenServe6268, was supposedly taken from their doorbell camera. Take a look at what it shows.
That raccoon looked weird. Its tail had like mange on it.
In the beginning, we can see a car that appears
Ham
to
is
be pulling out
playing
of a driveway across
the-
the street.
The long game.
Suddenly, a shadowy, transparent figure races across
Even
the
runs like a
screen.
24/7 stream, I think, on the
It
weekends.
moves
on
from
his
left to
channel.
right, then mysteriously disappears altogether. As spooky as the figure first seems, some viewers have theorized that it might actually be an optical illusion. They suggest that it's just an ordinary shadow that appears to be moving so fast because it's being cast by the light of a moving vehicle. However, apart from the car
Like
on
if
the
you
far
make a video
right-hand
like this,
side,
even
there
like
doesn't
once
appear
a
to be
week, I
anything
guess.
else around.
At a certain point, you just have like hundreds of hours of this. You can just loop it.
Unfortunately, it seems that unless more evidence comes to hand, the true identity of this strange shadowy figure will have to remain a mystery.
It's like it's just like someone walking out of the car to the house.
Before we take a listen to some truly horrifying sounds, remember to hit that subscribe button, then tickle that little bell icon there
Sick,
and turn on
dude.
all channel
Horrifying
notifications.
sounds.
That way you'll be in the loop every time we drop our scary and creepy videos.
Yeah, dog.
When Redditor Gadden420 started hearing some strange noises while out walking their dog, they immediately took out their phone and hit record.
Yeah,
Take
I
a
believe
listen
this guy.
to what they heard.
Gaddin 420. Looks like a nice place to go for a walk. Come on. Did not sound like that actually happened.
As the camera rolls, you can hear a loud, high-pitched shriek echo through the night air. The poster says that whatever was making the sounds kept getting
This
closer
fucking-
and closer. They think it was some sort of animal, but
Yeah,
their
we need
wife
a
disagrees.
hand holding a.
There are numerous ghosts and
iPhone
cryptids
2.
that are known for their distinctive screams. The most recognised is probably the banshee. Rooted in Irish folklore, banshees are said to be female spirits that roam the countryside. Their wailing supposedly heralds the death of a loved one.
Yeah, but they're hot.
Some Redditors who have watched the footage think that the noise isn't coming from something supernatural at all. One theory is that it's actually the cry of a female fox, also known as a vixen. These animals have loud, high-pitched cries, and many people say that if you've not heard them, they can scare the daylights out of you.
Vixen, huh?
Watching the footage, it's clear that the dog is well aware that something's lurking in the darkness nearby. What it is exactly will have to remain unknown.
It's just like some crackhead in the fucking RV. Honestly, if I saw someone like wandering around near my
Now, if you
RV, I
wanna
would
see
make a
some more
fucking
scary
gargoyle
videos,
sound.
then check out that link on the top there.
You want to scare someone
Otherwise,
away
we
from
have
your
a
house?
massive
You see some
paranormal
kids
playlist there
outside
that'll keep you
playing.
entertained.
Just be like from around the corner, and they'll be like, "There's a dinosaur over there," and they'll just fucking run away. Do it all the time. It's a different atmosphere.
Henry was down on his luck. After years of alcohol abuse and running around with different gangs. He started when he was about 8, beating up a poor innocent bystander for him to do some sort of gang initiation.
This is an angle we've never seen
As he
Assassin
grew
Rapper take
older,
before.
he got more into the gangland lifestyle, but drugs and alcohol
He just like absorbed
took
that
his
man's soul and
with
ate it.
everything else his demons were
Some Majin
destroying.
Buu shit.
He was walking down the street one day.
Yeah, what is up with
and
the
sat
eyes? They
down
look like
and
overdone
started
eggs.
drinking to pass a few hours away. People always walked past, getting on with their busy lives.
This is pretty dark
He
for a
didn't
rapper.
ask people for money. He was still into petty crime and muggings here and there, so that's how
Jesus.
he funded his drug and drink habit. He wouldn't blame people passing him. He knew he was the type that people would no way like to meet down a dark alley, and they wouldn't be wrong. He would
You wanna give that-
stab a person for $20.
You want to give that one a second
With
take?
all that said, he was very surprised to see a man dressed in all black stop and ask him was he okay. He spoke to Henry for about 5 minutes, and Henry told him he used to be a builder, which was partly true. Henry did do a bit
Builder?
of building here and there when he used to run with gangs. The man seemed to be
Bob
impressed
the Builder
with Henry
gone Amish?
and offered him work. He told Henry, I have a job for you to make some money for yourself. I need a new house built out in the countryside, and I would love you to build it for me. I will
What?
fund it all, of course, but one thing, please don't spare anything. I will foot the bill, so I want the best of everything in that house. The best heating, the best bricks, or whatever
Yeah, I was gonna go
else
buy-
it takes
hire
to have the
some
best of the
Random
best.
drug addict to build a house.
Henry's face lit up, and he said, of course, I know all the best ways to make the best house for you. You'll have the best house
Oh,
in
fuck.
town. Over the next few months, Henry was building the house and was given a nice sum of money for doing it. He put his idea into plan by asking the man for money for the
These
most
bricks are just, like,
expensive ways
shaking
of
around.
building the house, but
It's all
keeping most of the
hallucination.
money for himself and building it the cheapest way he could. He spent the extra money on drink and drugs and
Wait.
partying every
That woman's torso is not connected to her clothes. You see that? The illusion is completely broken.
way he could. He spent the extra money
Watch.
on drink
You see that? It's like, unless her ass goes up to the back of her fucking.
and drugs and partying every time he wasn't building the house. He also took his time building it.
She got a
to
weird
stretch
ass.
out the money he was getting from the strange man.
got that new
a few
shit.
months later, the house was built, and Henry told the man he didn't spare anything building the best house he could for him. The man smiled and said, Henry, you were so good and such
It's
a great
the
worker.
fucking shirt.
I must congratulate you. The reason I told you don't spare anything building the best house is because that house you just built, Henry, is all yours. You can move in today if you like. Henry was beating himself up inside, knowing that if he had known the house was going to be his, he would have used the man's money for the best of everything. A few weeks later, Henry was in the kitchen, drinking coffee, when he suddenly noticed a leak in the ceiling. Suddenly, the roof caved in, and the whole house fell down, burying Henry under the rubble.
Oh. All right. Well, what's the lesson here? What if God was one of us? Built a house like one of us. Da 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 da. What a fucking weird story. I think that's what I like about it, though. Like, you really just, you never know. where you're gonna end up. You never know. Could be anywhere. Who was the benefactor? What did he get out of that? By just giving this man millions of dollars, just like, is that how he gets his rocks off? Like he just hires random people to build giant houses, and then he like watches as it collapses around them. He has a laugh. Tried to rehabilitate it. So you're seeing this as the glass is half full, basically. You think he was helping him? You don't think he was like a psychopath? All right, fair enough. I immediately assumed that he was just getting off on that in some way. Not like bad, but you know, just what he likes to watch. He made a huge bet with other rich people. The guy would abuse the money and would like.
Tim lives
think
in
about
a
it.
country town in Texas and loves driving his pickup
Billionaires
truck.
probably have
But
shows
for
that we don't
years
even
and
know about.
years He knew not to stop outside this.
Have you ever heard of that before? That, like the highest, the tippity top hierarchy of our world, like they have their own movies and television that like no one else can watch. I heard this the other day. So there may be like movies with Hollywood caliber writing and actors in it that we'll never see. We never know existed. Kind of weird.
Certain cornfield. The field seemed to stretch for miles and miles, and he dreaded
They have
the
their
day
own games
he would
too,
run
yeah, like-
out of fuel if he had no choice in
Just
the
like
matter
Fortnite.
to stop. When he drove past the cornfield,
They get Fortnite
he
too
tried
before
not
everybody
to
else.
look into it, as if that would stop anything strange from happening. But he knew that if he didn't stop, then nothing should happen. The worst about this story is
Look at
no
that
one
corn.
said actually what would happen if you did stop. But his imagination was running wild anytime
Exactly, that's what happened
he
to
had
Half-Life
to
3.
drive past it. There were a few stories about the field and different things happening different folk, but he didn't really dwell on them and pretended at least to not believe them. But one night during October, he had to make a pickup for his job and had to drive past the field. He no doubt wasn't looking forward to it, but
No
it was
doubt.
his job.
Look at this
his
fucking dude
livelihood.
in the window, this
he
Jack
had the
guy.
gas checked and it was full, so there would be no problem
0%
there.
commission
While
in
he was
80 plus
driving his
countries.
pickup truck past the cornfield, he noticed something up ahead. He hoped it was nothing sinister. As he drove closer, he realized there was a car crashed on the road with
Oh no, it's a
3
corn
people lying
crash.
in pools of blood near it. But when he looked out the window, he realized one person was alive looking up at him,
He's gonna
no
run him
doubt
over.
pleading with him to stop and help them.
He's gonna run him
He
over.
felt awful passing the person and others, but knew he couldn't stop. He didn't want to stop, so he drove on. As he looked in the truck mirror, he could see the 3 people standing on the road,
It was a
looking
trick.
at his truck. He froze in fear and pressed the gas pedal and drove faster and faster, but the cornfield seemed to go on and on even more than usual. Then all of a sudden, it was like dead people walked out of the cornfield and stood right in front of him on the road. He decided to drive past them.
Something
There
about that
was no
skeleton
way
with
he was
socks
stopping.
on.
Then suddenly there was a knock on Tim's door, which woke him out of his
Makes
dream.
me immediately be
When he
aware of
answered the
how
door,
naked the skeleton
sheriff was
is.
standing on the doorstep and said, "I'm very sorry to break this news to you, Tim, but your daughter unfortunately has been involved in a car accident out by the cornfield. I'm very sorry, but she didn't make it, and 2 of her friends were in the car also.
Fuck.
One has survived. Tim couldn't believe what he was hearing and was in a daze. The sheriff said, "Tim, are you okay?" Tim was wondering, was this still a dream? Then he felt drowsy and looked up. He was still on the road, near the cornfield.
What?
He checked the mirror and looked behind him, hoping this was still a dream. He walked back to see who the dead people on the road were, and he looked down at himself, his daughter, and his daughter's friend. He then realized he was dead.
Oh, dude, that's the classic. That is the fucking classic assassin rapper story. He then realized he was dead. That's the best ending you can get. He then realized he was dead, and then it just like turns to black. So was the cop just not there? Was that part not real at all? I was confused about that. Wait, so he was dreaming, and then he woke up from the dream, but then woke up back in that dream, and then he was dead. Yeah, why did the people stand up, too? He's got a really, like, unique look at death. You can die more than once in an assassin rapper story, basically. What else do we got here? Oh, hell yeah. What's this music? It just sounds like someone playing with glass bottles.
I was off of work for the week,
Oh, it's this
so I was
narrator.
playing the Walking Dead game series.
This is
It was
seriously
pretty
penis
fun.
music.
I got really attached to the characters and into the game. I especially liked Clementine. The game was so much fun, I couldn't put it down, so I stayed up playing all 5 of their games. Lee was my favorite character. I liked Kenny, then Clementine became my favorite. It's been 2 days without sleep. On The Walking Dead, the final season. This is the last game, then it ends. Skybound had to finish the series because Telltale had to lay off most of their employees. I honestly didn't
This is
want
a
the
real
game to
horror
end.
story.
I was so involved in the game and in the characters' lives. It felt like real life. I then heard banging on my door. I got downstairs to see who it was, and it was a zombie. I start to panic and realize that none of my parents or siblings are home. That is just me. I start fighting off the zombies and realize that
Didn't even
I'm
try.
outnumbered. I then wake up and realize it's all been a dream. I dozed off while playing The Walking Dead, the final season. After I finished the game, I missed it, but I realized that my sleep and health is more important than any game. I wonder if there ever
True.
was a zombie apocalypse, what would happen? I turn off the S-bots and lay down to go back to sleep.
Dude, that was the realest story on the entire channel. All right. That made me change my mind about streaming. No more. Now this one's going to bring me back. Warning, this video is intended to be creepy and scary. If you're not a fan of that type of content, please do not continue watching.
I was working at my local pizza place when a delivery order came in from a person with a familiar name. I had finished my shift, so Simon was taking over for me, But I really wanted to deliver this order, so I told Simon I'd deliver it for him. I was feeling sick for so long, and it took me
This is
so
back in
long to
time.
get
This is
back to
before you
work,
had a better
but my
mic.
treatment didn't help me. It just made things worse.
Yes, the treatment of holding up pepperonis to one's head with strands of spaghetti.
A while later, I knocked on the door with the pizza, and I wanted to see for certain is it the guy I thought it was. I was right, it was. It took him a while to register who I was, but when he did, he took the pizza and said, "Hey Susie, how are you keeping? It's great you're back to work." I smiled back
Susie.
and said, "Hey Mr.
Stories about
Potter, I'm
Susie.
doing good now, thankfully." He handed me $20 and I was giving him the change of $5, but he said, "Keep the change." The door shut and I walked back to the car. Mr. Potter sat down to eat his pizza and
8
felt
pizzas.
hungry after a long hard day's work when suddenly the light went out. He said "damn" and wondered where his flashlight was. Mr. Potter walked into his room to fetch it when someone came up behind him and stuck a needle in his neck and he collapsed. He didn't know
I like
how
how the
long
sound's
he
just
was
like-
out, but when he came around, he was sitting on a chair with loads of electric wires around
What?
him. And
Little
there was a
flashlight?
flashlight blinding his eyes. Susie was staring right at him. "You sure loved to use electricity on me, didn't you?" He said, "Susie, what are you doing?" She took a wig off, showing her bald head. "Mr. Potter, I am going to flick the kill switch back on in just a few minutes, and you are going to fry alive with those electric wires that are tied onto you. That, I must add, I doubt you will be able to wiggle free with your hands tied behind your back. I learned all that from you. I must admit, this tonight has
As we
been the
zoom in
best
farther, it just
party
becomes Jeff
I've ever
Bezos.
had." He started screaming as I walked down to the basement and flicked the kill switch to on. I could hear buzzing and the screaming stopped.
It's just fucking her sitting there. Local asylum in news. They had their own newspaper. What happens? All right. Let's watch one or two more. How about... Mile.
Has ever sent me. Two guys claim that they are standing outside their house when one of them sees what he describes as a, quote, transparent man walk by. Now, the story alone might sound
Invisible man.
ridiculous, but when they run inside to check the security camera, there is actual video proof.
That's a f***ing trap. Man, I just smoked my I'm good.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Why would they do that?
I need some Scooby snacks.
Typically, popsicles are just like made of people that are cool. I don't know why they would be like, we're gonna make these. It's stupid.
You didn't notice nothing when you're out there?
Keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. Goes out to the street.
Yeah, but it's still
See,
fucking
one
dumb.
of the guys actually watched the figure pass, while the one
Now
closest
they're-
to it is completely unaware.
Like,
Now I know that video
when
compression
have
artifacts
we as
can
a society
sometimes
ever been
cause
like,
this
yeah,
type of
let's
thing,
have the people
but
we don't
note
like
that
on the popsicles. The
transparent
popsicles
figure
are the
is
people we
almost
like.
the
It's like
same distance away
Ninja
as
Turtles
this
and
guy,
shit.
who is
SpongeBob.
perfectly clear. But
People are just
let
fucking
me know
so
what you
stupid.
think down in the comments. A turn for the worse. Reddit user Stalker the Zone says that he works as a hospital security guard. Late one night while doing his rounds, he noticed a wheelchair on one side of the hallway. When he returned for his next round, he noticed that the wheelchair was on the other side, even though no one had been in that area of the building. He started filming and captured this.
All right, if something on wheels is moving around, I already assume it's just like something weird happening with like the angle of the floor or the wind.
No.
After he noped his way out of there, he says that he didn't return until his next shift.
Like, have you ever pushed grocery carts in your life for a job? Like, they do weird things. Things on wheels do weird things.
He says that he hasn't had any other scary encounters since this incident.
You're working a warehouse or anything like that? Like
Khalil. I featured Jordanian explorer Ihab Kasmia in another video, and for good reason.
Because they on wheels, that's what they
ghost
do.
Hunting videos online. In this video, he is investigating a place he calls
That's what happens
House of Khalil.
if you don't put a fucking parking brake
goes,
on a
man
car.
named Khalil
or
went
e-brake.
insane and did away with his entire
Your car
family
can
in
be
this
moving
house
because it's got
before ending
wheels.
his own life. It is said that Khalil's spirit still haunts the home. As he explores, Ahab begins to hear strange noises. And then this.
Imagine wheels. Like imagine the dragon.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق.
Real things.
يا كل شيء.
Ahab sees something that looks
Is
like
the guy
a
that had the
person
dog
peering
the other
through the
day?
window. But when he runs inside to check,
Doesn't have the dog, does
nothing. But the creepy occurrences don't stop there.
وان بهاي المواقف بتكون الشغلة يا قاتل يا مقتول. طبعا أعوذ بك.
يا قاتل يا مقتول أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات.
Imagine the first like caveman that figured out the wheel. What do you think he was doing?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم أعوذ بكلمات الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. طلعوه.
You think he was like rolling down hills?
بسم الله. يي. بسم الله.
Ahab doesn't even seem to notice some of
Ghosts
the
are more
bizarre
real in
events
Saudi
that
Arabia.
he catches on camera.
بسم الله. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات من شر ما خلق. جن. والله عارف إنك جن وحياة الله.
At one point, it actually looks like a face is peering at him through a nearby window.
There should be more jinns in like movies and TV or something.
بسم الله الرحمن
I
الرحيم.
don't really see them
بسم الله
used very
الرحمن
often.
الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذا جن تعال لا شو تعال قشعر بدني وحياة.
Ahab decides to leave and investigate another abandoned house that is directly upstairs from the first one. But he feels like the ghost or jinn of Khalil might have followed him.
Yeah, that's the only jinn thing I can think of is American Gods. They didn't even really do anything in his
As
fucking
he
plot at
investigates
all.
the house, he begins to feel like he can see something
That show could have
lurking
been cool,
behind
but
him in the
so
mirrors.
bad.
شوفوا زي ما أنا شفت.
Yeah, the book is really good.
لسه مش داخلين جوا صابني وجع راس. صابني وجع راس كبير.
Well, I like what's his name, the guy from
خلينا نحكي شوي.
Deadwood and what the fuck else is he in?
بسم الله. بسم الله
I can't remember
الرحمن
his name.
الرحيم أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات. أعوذ
Ian McShane,
بكلمات
yeah, he's
الله
awesome.
التامات. أعوذ بكلمات الله التامات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
And he was really good as Odin in that, or Wednesday or whatever. And you know what? The other guy was really good too. The guy who was Shadow. I thought he did a good job. I just didn't really get enough time. Some of the side plot stuff was stupid.
And after that chilling experience, Ahab decides to just make a quick exit.
I really didn't like the actress that was playing his, like, that was fucking weird.
So did Ahab Kasmia see the ghost or a djinn of the house's former tenant, Khalil? Or was it just an elaborate hoax? You decide. Free Spirit. This next clip
Yeah,
is
they
a
had a lot of
bizarre
drama,
video
too,
that's
with
been
that
floating
show.
around the internet for a while. Uploaders claim that this video shows a possessed man at the moment
We'll never
a
know. There's
spirit
probably
leaves
some weird
his
shit
body
happening behind the
for a new
scenes.
home.
It seemed like, at least. Also, Gillian Anderson as technology. The scenes that she was in were excellent. She was like David Bowie. She was Lucille Ball and stuff. That was really cool. I fucking love Gillian Anderson.
Now, there are very few details or even an identifiable source
But
for
she
this
dipped
video,
after the first season,
but
too.
It's definitely creepy. However, is it real or fake?
I like the bad
Well,
guy
that's
a
up to
lot
you.
in that show, Technology Boy.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Popular Dutch rapper Lange Frans claims that he has no fear
What?
of ghosts or the paranormal. So the Dutch TV program Phobiac decides to let him prove that by
Phobiac.
sending him into two of the most haunted places in Edinburgh, Scotland. The first location is a very bizarre, allegedly haunted house.
Well, this is the 17th century house down here. This is probably one of the most famous places down here. Obviously, because we do have that, well, in fact, the cement in the walls here, the plasterwork, was actually made from human cremation ash.
So this,
Everything you see here was human cremation ash. That's another reason why
What?
people do think it's so haunted down here, because there's literally up to, what, a couple of thousand people here in the walls of this house.
Yeah.
True to his word, Lange Frans isn't spooked. In fact, he seems to find it funny when the film crew claims to have some spooky encounters.
wat is er aan de hand? Je voelde wat aan je voet.
Ik hoef het er niet op camera te zien.
Wat zeg je?
Door de vette voetstappen hier.
Rot op.
Nou, serieus.
En je hoorde wel degelijk voetstappen.
Hier naartoe komen. Vanaf verder zou hier echt naartoe komen lopen.
Ja, nee, ik zweer het je.
Het is nu officieel. Iedereen begint er gewoon helemaal
This guy
een
is
pan uit te flippen
huge.
hier al.
I feel like barely
Group
fit in
next
there.
visits the Greyfriars Graveyard, which is supposedly one of the most haunted places in Scotland, perhaps even the world.
This is the tomb that seems to be the
He's,
most
like, fucking
active.
scary
It's
looking.
the most notorious. We
This
call it the
guy.
Black Mausoleum. Most of the attacks seem to take place right at the back of the tomb.
Lange Frans still says that he's seen nothing even remotely frightening.
Yeah, I guess.
In fact, he's now so cocky that he decides to sit in the haunted mausoleum all alone, leaving the film crew outside. When they return to check on him hours later, it seems his attitude might have changed.
Ik weet echt niet hoe lang ik nog ga blijven, hoor, want ja, ik ben al lang blij dat ik nu niet meer in mijn eentje ben hier, zeg maar. Hoe voel jij je dan? Kut, hè?
The Dutch are the tallest people on Earth per capita? Really? I never knew that. That's really crazy.
Je voelt iets op je drukken, zeg maar. En weet je niet alleen.
Kut man.
Hey, he looks like fucking Nosferatu.
Ga eens naar binnen voor een gein, Olivier. Echt.
Ik voelde echt een soort van een tikje zo op me. Godverdomme, het
No,
zal toch
listen
niet
to
waar
the
zijn.
Dutch propaganda.
Dat kan toch niet?
Yeah, they got good French fries.
Maar jij voelde het ook.
I'll give them that, for sure.
So one night in Edinburgh's most haunted graveyard made Lange Frans a believer.
Eén keer en nooit meer.
As always, thanks for watching. Please follow me on Twitter, and to suggest
Crazy.
a video, go to the Facebook page and hit the send message button.
Yeah, this is Technology Boy from American Gods.
Hello, show.
It had some like cool stuff like this happening in it.
See, I said don't fuck with me. Now that was fucking with me. Keep your answers short and to the
I really
point,
like
or
this
I will
actor, though.
fucking kill you, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just have the children here break every bone in your fucking body. So don't fuck with me.
Yeah, they really gave him like interesting outfits and stuff. It has a lot of cool moments, but it becomes a mess. Too bad. It could have been cool. It was different enough too. It was different enough. All right, one more thing. One more thing. What's this?
Stomach.
No. Oh yeah, Crispin Glover is Mr. World. Yeah, all the bad guys were really good. And then Gillian Anderson, obviously. Very good bad guys in that show. Hmm. Bow. Looking for a good one. Might have to go back to Assassin Rapper though. Oh yeah, what was this? We already watched this one. Oh, there's a new Dr. Bob. Oh yeah, Peter Stormare. He's one of my absolute favorites. Hmm.
It's a beautiful morning in Hollywood, and the agent is already chattering on his mobile phone as his
Beautiful
limo
morning.
pulls up to his office. He considers himself a power player in this town, where image is everything. So he's never not talking on his mobile. It gives him an aura of importance, something that's extremely important in a career where what people think you can do is often more important than what you can really do. He exits his limo, motioning dismissively for the driver to take it around to the garage, but he never stops talking. Babe, it's like I told that director," he says, barely noticing that he cuts off an arriving delivery man as he sweeps through the doors of his office
Peter
building.
Parker.
"If he wants you to be in his next movie, he's gonna have to treat you like the star that you are." "Of course I said that. I've got your back, don't I? Who loves you, babe?" "Hold on a sec, I have to take another call." The agent lowers his sunglasses to peer at the caller ID and smiles broadly. His favorite client is calling. He switches lines quickly with an expert flick of the thumb and immediately starts talking to this new client as if he never even broke conversation. The truth
Looks
is
like someone from
that
Night
this
of the
agent is
Roxbury.
struggling to survive in the shark eat shark
It
waters
looked like
of Hollywood.
Peter Parker a little bit with the pizza.
He's losing clients left and right because he's actually not all that good at making deals. His fast talk is good at convincing naive young actors just arriving in town that he's the guy to know, the guy who has all the connections that can get them into the movies. But the truth is that he's little more than a huckster. He's confident that's going to change very soon. The actor that he's speaking with right now is a hot commodity in this town, and he's sure that his career is about to go through the roof. And that means big bucks for the savvy agent who snatched him up right when he stepped off the bus into town. As he opens the door to his outer office, he barely even pays any mind to his secretary, who is studiously transcribing yesterday's meeting so that the agent can review them later. But she cringes as she catches sight of the agent. They say that you can judge a man's character better by the way that he treats his employees than by the way he treats his friends.
Secretary.
And if the agent's relationship with his secretary is any indication, this agent is not a very nice person at all. She's used to being berated for every little mistake, even when it's not her fault, to the point that she starts to sweat and shake as soon as she sees her tyrannical boss arrive. She heaves an audible sigh of relief as the agent passes by her without a word, but her feelings are premature. Before the agent enters his inner office, the client whom he's speaking with drops a bombshell. "What's that?" says the agent, stopping dead in his tracks and the color draining from his face. "You're leaving me? You're signing with a different agent? Babe, come on, you can't do this to me. I need you. I mean, I was gonna make you a star. You can't do this to me." Furious, the agent screams as he throws his phone at the wall in impotent rage. The cell phone shatters into a million pieces, broken bits of casing and bent microchips littering the carpet. He turns toward his secretary with a snarl on his face and points an accusatory finger at her. "What did you tell him? Did you tell him he could get a bigger percentage with another agent? You did, didn't you? I always tell you not to talk to the clients, but you can't keep your big mouth shut." The secretary tries to stammer out a defense, but she's too nervous. Before she can say anything, the agent turns away from her, still fuming. "I'm gonna take a coffee to get over this," he grouses, removing his extremely fashionable sunglasses and rubbing his forehead in frustration. "When I get back, that mess better be cleaned up. Oh, and make yourself useful for once and get me a replacement phone." The secretary doesn't waste any time in grabbing a dustpan and broom from the supply closet and cleaning up the destroyed cell phone. She knows her boss is in a terrible mood, and she's worried that he's not going to be much better when he returns. And then he's probably going to just yell at her some more. She needs to move fast because she knows the agent won't be gone long. And even though it's obviously completely ridiculous to expect that she'll be able to find and buy a new cell phone for him in the few minutes that he's gone, she's sure that he'll still take out his frustrations on her. Moments later, the agent returns, still grumbling to himself and clutching a hot coffee in his hands. He glowers at her over his sunglasses. "I see you're still sweeping up, huh?"
Yeah,
God, you're so slow. And did you even get me a new phone yet? I can't be expected to do my job if my clients can't reach me. The secretary opens her mouth to respond, but before she can say a word, they're interrupted by the ringing of a telephone. Both agent and secretary turn to look at the source of the noise. There, on the edge of the secretary's desk, is an ancient, cordless telephone. It doesn't look anything like the slick modern phones currently being sold in stores. It looks like it's a leftover from the early 2000s, so low-tech that it might as well be a rotary phone. The agent sneers. "That's the best you could do? That thing is ancient. I'm not going to use a cordless phone. I said I wanted a cell phone. What kind of joke is this?" The secretary doesn't know what to say. She didn't buy that phone. She's pretty sure, in fact, that she's never even seen it before. The maintenance staff must have replaced her phone overnight, and she just didn't notice it because they haven't received any phone calls today. But wait a minute. She sees that her regular black telephone is also still on her desk. In this case, maybe the new phone is intended for her boss. "Well, aren't you going to answer it?" asked the agent pointedly as the telephone continues to ring. Yes, sir," says the secretary nervously.
No.
She grabs the phone and picks it up. She vaguely notes that something feels wrong as she hefts the phone in her hand. Her eyes randomly trail along the contours of the phone, noting that the seams of the phone seem to have been welded together. Huh, that's strange. But she doesn't have the time to ponder this for long, because she's got to answer the phone quickly while her boss glowers at her. She holds it to her ear as the agent watches, a grin on his face. He can't wait to hear how upset the client will be to find out that he's no longer getting the agent's personal attention. The secretary introduces herself and states the name of the talent agency. "How can I help you?" she asks. Her face quickly goes pale, and she starts to tremble, tears welling up in her eyes. "What? Who is this?" she cries. "What's going on? Oh my God, are you, is that?" The agent quirks an eyebrow skeptically. What's going on here? Is this some kind of prank? The voice on the other end of the phone is loud. He can't make out the words, but it almost sounds like someone is shouting hysterically. He can hear other loud noises coming over the wire, crashes and shouts and a loud buzzing that almost sounds like the revving of a chainsaw. Meanwhile, what the secretary hears chills her to her core. The voice on the other end of the phone is shouting and panicked. It's a woman, but the secretary can barely hear her over the noises in the background.
Chainsawed in half.
She heard the ominous clank of machinery and the crackle of fire. What is going on?
They're
torturing us, cries the woman on the phone, her voice cracking as she descends into frantic sobs. Please, you have to do something. You have to save us. Oh God, here they come. Help, please. The secretary doesn't know what to think, but she can tell that the fear in the woman's voice is very
Kind of reminds me
real.
of like The Ring.
The secretary can hear screams and shouts in the background, and her mind
feel
is
like that's what's
instantly
gonna
filled with
happen.
visions of the most horrendous sorts of torment. She thinks of innocent victims mowed down with machine gun fire or garroted with wire, or even subjected to the most insidious of medieval torture devices, like the rack or the breaking wheel. She imagines a whole facility dedicated to nothing but the senseless torture
don't
of
do
innocent
that.
victims for no conceivable purpose, except, perhaps, the sick curiosity of the psychopathic torturers themselves. She shakes her head, desperately trying to clear the awful images from her mind. I'm sorry, where are you? Says the secretary, hurriedly. She blunders at the drawer on her desk, pulling it open and desperately searching for a pen and paper, hoping that the frightened woman on the other end of the phone might still have the presence of mind to tell her an address. Maybe, if she can figure out where this is
just give the
happening,
phone.
she can call 911 and have them send the police to investigate. From the sounds of things, they'll need to send some paramedics as well. And as much as she hates to think about it, they'll probably need to send some hearses too. Her fingers fall upon a
Send
pen
the
and
hearse
pull it
to
from
where
the
the
drawer.
body is,
She
right?
clamps the phone between her chin and shoulder and grabs a stenopad, ready to scribble down any info that she can get. Her boss is staring at her, an amused smirk
Yeah,
across
I
his
got a
face.
dead body in my
He clearly
house.
thinks that
Can
this
you
silly
send the hearse
secretary is
over?
just overreacting to nothing.
Sir, that's
But he
not how-
can't hear the woman's voice. He can't know the
please call
depth
the
of her
cops?
terror. Please tell me where you are, begs the secretary. Her fingers are trembling so hard that the pen leaves a squiggly line on the paper. But the voice on the other end of the phone is barely coherent now, all her words degenerating into a long, drawn-out scream of absolute gargling terror. Okay, that's enough of that, says the agent, crossing his arms across his chin and regarding his shaking secretary with deep and obvious skepticism. You think this impresses me? I've seen better acting in an elementary school play. Of course, he would immediately think this. This is Hollywood, after all, and everyone has Hollywood dreams of someday being in a movie.
The manager
Every
reminds me
waiter
of
and bus
like
driver by day is a
Dan's
frustrated
dad or
actor
something
by
like that.
night. So, even though his secretary has never before expressed any interest in becoming a movie star, he of course suspects that this is an elaborate setup to convince him of her acting talents. She turns to look at him, and one look at her pale face is enough to convince him that she's not acting at all. Her face is ghostly white, and she's shaking like a leaf. She looks like she might simply faint right here from fright. Now the agent's smug annoyance turns to anger. Maybe his secretary isn't trying to fool him, but someone on the phone sure is. It must be some kind of prank call, and his secretary is simply the one person in Hollywood dumb enough to fall for it. There's someone in trouble, cries the secretary, dropping the phone from her ear. She says that they're being tortured. We need to get them help. The agent rolls his eyes. Of course it would be a prank call. He can't believe that his stupid secretary is actually taking this seriously. Kid, you have a lot to learn about Hollywood. He snaps his fingers in her face. It's clearly just some random loon trying to trick you. Hand over the phone, doll. I'll handle this. It's not fake, babbles the secretary in a daze. I'm sure of it. It's real. She hesitates, afraid to hand off the phone for reasons that not even she can articulate. The agent grunts in annoyance, snatching the phone from her hands. Nothing's real here, kid. It's all just smoke and mirrors. Maybe if you weren't so stupid, you'd already have figured that out.
I am.
The secretary turns away, devastated by the insult, and buries her face in her hands. The agent, meanwhile, holds the phone to his ear. Listen, punk, I don't know who you think you are, but I'm a big deal, and... His words suddenly cut off, and the secretary turns as she hears the cardboard coffee cup explode against the floor. The agent is nowhere to be seen. It's like he suddenly vanished in an instant. She blinks in surprise and confusion. It happens so suddenly that there's no way the agent stepped outside without her knowing.
Gets sucked
The
in.
dropped coffee cup on the floor serves as chilling proof that something extraordinary must have happened to him. The other thing left behind, sitting in an ever-expanding puddle of spilled coffee, is the mysterious telephone. She stares at it in disbelief, wondering how this strange phone can be responsible for this crazy situation. And then, even as she stares trying to make sense of what just happened, the phone immediately begins to ring anew.
Maybe don't pick that.
Answering a ringing telephone is an almost instinctive response for most of us. But if anything, this situation shows why sometimes it might be a good idea to resist that urge. After all, you never know who might be on the other end. And while usually the worst consequence of answering an unknown caller is that you'll be subjected to a lengthy and boring
Okay.
pitch for life insurance or solicitations for political donations, this story shows that there are some things much worse than a spam caller. Instead, you might be receiving a call from SCP-145. For all intents and purposes, SCP-145 appears to be a standard 2002 model cordless telephone handset of Alcatel brand on its standard issue charging base. The charging base has been defaced, the jack inputs are sealed with resin glue, and the power input to the device has been torn out with a sharp tool. All labels and stickers have been torn off the phone, so its serial number and production date are unknown. None of this would make SCP-145 particularly notable. What makes SCP-145 unusual is that the phone rings constantly, defying all attempts to silence it. Neither removing the phone's battery nor disassembling the base has had any effect on stopping SCP-145's incessant ringing. The only thing that can stop the ringing is to answer the phone.
What if they throw it in a
As
volcano?
Foundation agents soon learned, answering the phone is literally the last thing you want to do when SCP-145 is around. Agents assigned to interacting with SCP-145 must always do so in pairs for very important safety reasons. Because if a person answers SCP-145 without being observed by another live human being, the person answering the phone will instantly vanish. It is currently unknown how SCP-145 causes its victims to vanish. Video recordings of vanishings do not provide any clarity, only showing that the victim is there in one frame and gone in the next. If a person answers the phone while being observed by another person, however, they will not vanish and can actually have a conversation of sorts with whoever is calling. The person on the other end of the phone varies from call to call, but is always one of several different female voices. This voice will beg for help in a panicked tone as the sounds of violence and torture play out in the background. The methods of torture, judging from words of the caller and the sounds in the background, have included branding, electrocution, laceration, and many other gruesome acts of violence. It's currently unknown where the voice is calling from or who is responsible for the horrible tortures happening at that site, but conversations with the phone voice give a grisly clue as to the fate of the people who vanish after answering SCP-145 while unsupervised. It appears that those vanished individuals are transported to the site from which the phone calls originate and added to the roster of victims undergoing torture at the hands of the unknown tormentors. The callers appear to be non-automated and entirely sentient. Attempts to trace the call or track down the location of the tortured callers have proven unsuccessful thus far. Attempts to block the signal of the phone with the use of a Faraday cage have also been unsuccessful. Since SCP-145 is pretty much just a telephone, it has been given the object class Euclid. Since the location of SCP-145's victims is currently unknown, the only way to travel to it is to join the roster of victims by using SCP-145. Currently, the Foundation conducts research into SCP-145 by using teams of 3, 1 Class D staff, 1 Class 2/145 audio technician, and 1 Class 3 security staff. Only Class D staff are permitted to actually listen to SCP-145, as, without fail, unsupervised exposure to SCP-145's transmissions will cause the listener to vanish and join a growing list of SCP-145's torture victims. Listening to the pleas of SCP-145's victims is a harrowing experience for even the most jaded researchers, such that the Foundation has been moved to try several rescue attempts, even when these might not have been the best advised plans. As of yet, none of these attempts have been successful. In one instance, the Class D personnel tasked with answering SCP-145 was issued a GPS locator device in hopes that it might give Foundation agents a clue about where the victims were being held. The GPS device was rendered inactive upon the victim's disappearance. On another occasion, a researcher equipped the Class D listener with both a GPS device and a military combat knife. Once again, the GPS device was rendered inactive, and subsequent calls by SCP-145 seemed to indicate that the missing Class D staff attempted and failed to use the knife in defense. A third rescue attempt involved equipping the Class D staff with both a Kevlar vest and a 9mm semi-automatic pistol. Subsequent listens to SCP-145 revealed the sound of gunshots, followed by exclamations of pain from the vanished Class D staff person, indicating that perhaps the unknown tormentors had managed to disarm the Class D staff person and use his own weapon against him. In one final rescue attempt, researchers thought that possibly explosives could be used both to attack the mysterious tormentors and to reveal the location of the torture
send a
site.
bomb in.
If nothing else, a massive mysterious explosion might appear on seismographic instruments or even local news reports. Researchers equipped a Class D staff person with
This
1
guy's like,
kilogram of
fuck.
C4 explosive concealed in a supply kit, with the explosive attached to a remote trigger with a 30-second delay, triggered before interaction with SCP-145. The results of this experiment are currently classified, but involved multiple personnel going missing, so suffice to say, it wasn't the rousing success that the Foundation staff had been hoping for. Following this incident, All further tests on SCP-145 have been suspended. What is SCP-145, and why was it created? What cruel yet ingenious mind could devise something so cunning,
They
only
should,
to be
like,
used for the senseless torment of random
implant
people?
a camera into
Foundation
someone's
researchers
chest.
still don't know the answer, only that
Send it there. I guess they
SCP-145
would
might
never get
serve
the
as yet
signal.
more evidence for the boundless depths of human cruelty, if in fact, it was even created by humans. Now go and watch another entry from the files of Dr.
It was
Bob,
created by
like
the phone lord.
SCP-923, for another tale of a piece of evil technology. And make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single anomaly as we delve further.
Wanna see? Oh, but it's not working. Possibly. Oh, there's no audio for that entire thing. Something's wrong with the audio, though. Hold on a second, guys. Having an issue here. My audio broke. I had a power outage earlier, and not my main monitor, but a secondary monitor I use for my streaming PC. That's like an old TV. It's an old Vizio. It's very convenient. It's on a wall mount. It's been dying slowly over the past few years. And today, when the power went out and it came back on, I can't turn this TV off. First of all, if I turn it off, it dies. It's like weird like that. Like it'll take days to come back. It's strange. And now it's permanently in like vapor mode. It's like green and purple colored, like overlaid over everything. Like some color shit got fucked up, and I can't fix it. It's just permanently. I don't know, but it's kind of cool. I kind of like it. That's why that's fucked up. Well, there we go. I swear to God, if OBS crashes. No. Did it crash? Okay, we're good. Fucking hate this shit sometimes, man. Hey. Okay, now you gotta hear the warning.
Disclaimer. Please do not go to these places. We do so at our own risk of life. Please do not copy us and put your life at risk. You have been warned.
I like how there's like hard bass in the background. Boom, ba-da-da-dum, like fucking Russian hard bass. In this video, it shows an explorer goes wrong big time. Question mark. Goes wrong big time. I love it.
An explorer goes wrong big time. It all started like a normal meetup and explore with the urban legend UK Witchy. While like exploring the coral, we went to the store and drained system and all turned so quickly.
Right, sorry, we have to abandon that. Just came out of nowhere. Hello, welcome to today. We're going underground to a big water complex, so it should be a good one. Stay with us. We're going to meet Exploring Carl and Ricky Welllock. So yeah, it should be a good one.
Yeah, I guess this is the kind of guy I think would be going in a tunnel. It's really low. Okay.
Hello, I'm just waiting for these two to come in. I think that they're here now. Ooh.
Jesus Christ. Let's get in the tunnel. Was like someone naked? Oh, they're just like hiding the location.
We're off in the box, Tom.
Yeah, the color balance is bizarre. I feel like I'm looking at that TV I was just talking about.
Ledge there that just dropped off. Was that a fish or an eel?
They have a lot of eels in England. I think I've heard of people like eating eels. Yeah.
Check that fish out there. Hidden behind the button.
Oh, it's a catfish, I think, right?
Looks like a chub.
Yeah, that's dinner.
Shall I go and get the fishing net?
Grab that shit.
Now, there's a frog.
A frog? Oh man, nature. Be eating stuff off the wall.
Super cool. Yeah.
Little guy. Didn't know they had frogs in England.
I won't get that off the camera. There's an eel. There's an eel, see it?
Frog speaks English.
See there, Will? Yeah, just disappearing. Yeah. And then you got a fish. There's another eel here coming in. There's an eel there. Yeah. There it is. It's coming towards.
This is sick.
See it? Gone underneath that mist. There's another one. It's like water snakes, basically, aren't they? Yeah.
Water snakes.
I don't know if it's picking it up, but hopefully it is.
An eel pit in a basement. You got some snake or frogs there. Head cam. That's what I'm about. Oh, this is so fucking good. It's the worst audio ever. Damn, what the fuck is that? Frog family? Yo, that one's huge. Is he gonna eat that frog? Ah, dude, it's so fucking nasty.
We just had fish swimming at our feet. There's loads of them here. Loads of frogs all the way down the side.
What do they do?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Those are frogs, though, man.
That one's jumping there.
Jumping. Dude, what the fuck? There's so many.
There's the eels.
They're too big.
There's the eels.
They're kind of scary.
Awesome.
Frog Town.
Pretty cool.
Like all the frogs,
There's another eel.
like all like get together and become like a person. Like they form like a human-sized frog.
Oh, there's the jumping one. He's going for it, that one. And we got to the first man.
It's like some House of the Dead boss. Gonna climb up this ladder.
No, but I'm going
You just like end up in someone's basement.
go follow them where we are and above ground. Yeah. Like see now, it's opened up slightly different. The water's got a bit more shallower. Wow.
What if the frogs kept getting bigger? Ugh, gross.
Super cool.
Is that a fatberg or is that just rust? It's just like a sediment.
I am filming this.
That looked like straight up like
DJI pocket camera.
the rot from Elden Ring.
Oh.
Whoa! All right, I like that frog. He's cool. I like when the frogs are wet. When they're too dry, don't like that.
Just jumped at you then, and there's more there.
Oh, like those guys are fucked.
So careful with. Ah, you can see daylight on that one. That one's not too high.
How would you even climb that?
Well, echoing this front. Does someone want to go up front first a bit, or?
Hello? Still going up.
That was way too loud.
It is. Still going. Right, this calls my serious torch. Just let me get my torch out. Super torch. Torch the whole torch. There, check how far.
Alright, that's pretty sick.
As we look at this picture here,
Imagine like losing perspective and just like
so we'll
falling.
be talking about where the hand hours would be on the clock. At the bottom, it's where
Like you just fall forward, starts going vertical, you don't even realize
a
it.
few inches deep. Then 25 past and
Yeah, what's up, Servy?
25
How you doing,
to
man?
is two more darker lines, and that's where the water comes up quite often. Then at 20 past and 22, you got another two lines there, and that's where the water comes up when it's more deeper. And then at quarter past and quarter to, it's very deep and you don't want to be in there then. And at a 10 past and 10 to is another tidal lines, and I think that might be the 1 in a 30-year storm. And yeah, you don't want to be there when that happens.
Looks like it bends to your left a bit, or...
Timing's off.
So let's go for it and see where it goes.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to say while we're down here.
You know, it's interesting too. There wasn't like any graffiti, but I guess it's not a place other people would ever go.
Be down here. Always check the river. Yeah, especially coming down underground. No graffiti or anything. Absolutely mint off this one. I must say, big shout out to Antonio for this. C9C. There's more.
Looks like, oh shit. Badass toad. Looks way cleaner in this part of the tunnel. Probably just way drier. Drier. Yeah, there's a lot of frogs. They should start like catching them to eat. They need to, like, if they run out of food, they might need them. Imagine getting lost in these tunnels for so long that you need to eat the frogs. Would you do it? Chad, if you got lost in this tunnel for so long that you ran out of food, would you eat the frogs? How long would you wait? Yeah, but if you're gonna die, you wouldn't eat the frogs. Come on.
We're at the next point now. No ladders, steps going up. And there's a platform and another grid up there. So that's where this one goes. It's not too high. Let's keep on going. Still got down there to go yet. It looks like it bends to the right a bit down there then. Yeah, I think this is going to open up massive. Might see a train go past in a minute. It's that big. Right, we're coming up some sets of something now.
Sets or something.
That you can see in front. Been down here about 20 minutes just walking. So that's how long we've been going up for now. Yeah, I can got away with something as well, food-wise.
Oh, there's a graffiti. There's like a little sperm on the wall.
There's no grass as well. Bit of graffiti here. There's some graffiti if it's the right place I think of. For the two pipes.
Whoa, that looks sick. Looks like they would have like rat senate here. Like meat there.
Used to be the entrance there or something.
Otaku?
They bricked it up.
Come on.
There's Another way up there.
Bow, bow, bow. Oh, there's a lot to this video. Holy shit. When did they get, like, lost? Oh, dude, he's getting lost.
No, I'm going to take my hat off here.
Yo, look at that rock. Yo, I can't. The fuck. The fucking poll was half and half. Can't even get the words out. It was literally half and half. Half of you would eat the frog to survive. Half of you wouldn't. Fucking weak. Half of you.
And we're caged in. Oh. Where are we? That's not a good sign though, it's raining out here. It's raining out here. Yeah. Oh. There's a manhole there. But you see, when I screw the manhole covers.
Sorry, I didn't get to complete the poll. There wasn't enough letters. Or would you suck the slime off the frog? Would you not suck anything else? I mean, that's up to you. Maybe you would suck something else on a frog. I don't know.
Right, here we go. Off we go.
Off we go.
Yeah, what I can do.
Oh, wow. No one even answered no. Wow. Oh, wait. No, people did. I thought no one answered no. It didn't. It, like, minimizes. It doesn't show the percent that voted no. It's a good voting system.
Going a little bit fast. Basically, what we're doing is we've told someone at a time.
All right, those of you who voted no, why not? What, are you too good for it? Are you too good for the frog? Fuck you.
But obviously, we don't want to alert them if we're just 10, 20 minutes late. So we need to get out before the time is set, so the person knows that we're out.
You hurt the frog's feelings by neglecting the nutrients and powers that it would give you. Just trying to help you survive. How fucking dare you? Yeah, well, if you think it's cute, eating it will make you cuter. See what I'm saying?
Don't know, we'll have to turn back. Yeah. We can't get past this. Well, there's still for or something.
Deviant art logic.
Let's see how hard it is.
Oh, watch out for that chain. Almost got you.
That's really hard, that.
Some really good British humor about a chain in a sewer. That's not what I expected in this video, but...
That's what I thought he was going to do, and look it. No, look. And myself.
Also, for the people who... I feel like I have to say this sometimes, because I am joking. I'm not actually mad at you if you wouldn't eat a frog. This is all a joke. Everything I say on stream is a joke. Except for when I don't want it to be.
What's this? What's coming up now? More steps.
I respect most of your intelligent, But for the people who, there's a few people out there who probably are like, what the fuck? Fuck this guy. I am always being completely sarcastic. Whenever he looks back at this guy, it looks like, where's Waldo? Like for a split second, right? Waldo? That water looks pretty clean, though. Would you drink that water?
There's what? There's what?
Well, if you wouldn't drink that water, then fuck you. Also, Critical Error Streams, thank you for the resub, dude. Thank you for the 33 months. I'm joking.
Like an helicopter you can hear, can't you? Sounds like a helicopter.
They're back in the Rat Senate room.
Yeah, big tidal wave coming through now. Wow. I'll be straight up and down.
Just all poop.
Of course.
Thanks to like Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I thought there would be like giant rivers. I guess New York City probably has that. Not this like little British village. One of those guys talking, and it layered over the other guy talking, and I swear to God, it sounded like Yoshi for a second. Like I heard like a Yoshi tongue sound.
On we go. Yeah. Let's see. We're on one today. Bring it down here for about an hour now. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe the lead singer of Radiohead is fucking in this video. Whoa.
Hey, Frogger, you get it, people? Frogger. Never mind.
What if one of them just like punched it, and the other guys just like stopped talking, and they're like, "What the fuck is wrong with this guy?" And like the tone of the video like completely changed, and like that guy started like saying weird shit, like mumbling to himself.
You had to be from the 80s. Most people won't get that, but Frogger, yeah.
They like tried to like get away from him. Exploring with care. Is that what that says? Or exploring with cam? I can't tell. Camera is... Oh, it's not helping. With Carl? Exploring with Carl?
It sounds like it's coming this way. I'm glad I'm at the back, mate.
Exploring with Carl. Rick Cam, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, note to the editor. For this portion of the video, I need you to write Rick Cam in the left corner to signify whose point of view is currently hosting the video. We get some music? What the fuck? Just turned to a music video? What?
Right, we've got to turn back. Just seen a big wave come down here, basically. So,
The fuck was that?
yeah, we don't want to get trapped down here. Because next to a big wave. So let's get out of here.
Run. And the music just starts playing. Ba-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah, that's actually Carl Pilkington.
There, look.
Oh, fuck. It is that song.
That's locked.
Run. Although you couldn't tell. The fuck is that?
Very, very, very,
All my sources are fucked up for my Stream Deck. Tom Scott got hooked up to another one. I didn't even mean for him to come out like that. Are they actually getting flooded? Holy fuck. Yo, I thought I saw a face for a second. Yeah, those frogs are fucked. Or they're having like the time of their life. They're probably just like on a big it's like a big water slide for them. Crazy. Someone woke up and just searched headcam and got like the wrong videos. What the fuck? Everybody should get a head cam. Everybody. Even people with microscopic ween. Do you think they knew this was going to happen? That they planned it like this? They're like, alright, if we get to this point by this time, we'll be safe. Every frog needs a head cam. Well, you think it's from rain, or you think it's from, like, actual water moving? Yeah, this is Dasani. This is Dasani packaging plant.
We have come back out because it just came down. Yeah, things have got really bad. Might not be able to record for a bit now.
Whoops. Oh no, I fucked it up. He's going in. Yeah, this is just a Dasani packaging plant tour, bottling tour. There they go. Yeah, this is just where they make Dasani water. It's delicious. Got that extra pep. People walking in it. Why are they doing this? They wanted to go and see where the Dasani water comes from. In their local bottling plant. If it's a Connor O'Malley idea. Oh, damn. This is like Dark Souls now. Fucking in the depths. Giant slime is just gonna fall on that guy's head. What the fuck are these guys doing? The water is moving quick. They should have brought like a little boat, like a little like inflatable raft. That would have been dope. Honestly. I feel like that could be a sport someday, like sewer rafting, sewer surfing. Yeah. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did everything. This... Bum. They got out. They got out alive. Bup, bup, bup. Look at that face. Just see that again. What the fuck? It's like a pig or something. Who is that guy? This little pig man. Headcam. That's Dasani. The Dasani Water mascot. He's just buried in the sewer. Graggle. Just breaking out of like a random fucking sewer cap. What? That was pretty cool.
Sorry, we have to abandon that. Just came out.
Dude, when this guy went in there, he was 18 years old. Look at him now.
Go on, send it up. I haven't a bleeding clue where we are.
He went in there as an 18-year-old American kid. He came out as a 40-year-old British guy.
Here, getting up.
Shit's fucked up.
Just be careful. If you go into places like that, look out for signs of it coming in quick. Oh, that's one crazy one. They just tried to get through now. Coming up. Oh, lucky enough this was.
Why is it a triangle?
Underneath. Don't know what the name.
Oh, it's half of it's blocked off. Imagine just like walking by and you see this shit pop open and you're like, what the fuck is going on? I guess you'd think they're just like workers, but still.
Doing two filming now. Two at once. Where we are. Bit of a squeeze. Jesus Christ. Oh man, never again.
Yeah, that was sick.
Jesus Christ. Same again.
It's not, it's like a square, it's just half of it's blocked off. It only it opens two triangles.
Possibly mates. Come on, Rick.
I don't know why they didn't open the other part. It's like shut, I guess.
Anything else, Rick? Send it up.
One thing that fascinates me about stuff like this is like when they were building it, what was the like dudes actually like going down there and setting it up. Yeah, fucking helicopter flying. Oh yeah, it definitely rained. It looks like, yeah.
Cool.
Wet ground kind of.
Need to find out where we are and where the cars are now.
It's the penis forest that they came out in.
Keep back down now so it don't look on top.
The part in Yellow Submarine with the dick forest and the boobs. And all the dicks in the forest. Remember that?
Yeah. Where did it come from? That's from the soap, isn't it? I know. All I've seen is this. Right, water's coming down and it's seen like a wave.
But if it was unblurred for a second, they're just fucking naked.
There's about 3-inch wave.
A wave happened.
Oh, turn around and said,
Like they had just been like wearing no pants like Donald Duck the entire time underneath those like coveralls. Donald Ducking it in the all day. Steaming. All chaffed up. Like a fish and chip in here. The boy who was... What? Who was what?
We stopped checking for monsters under our bed. Once we
The
were
boy who was what?
relaxed, they were inside us.
Wow.
Don't turn the lights off, please, Mommy, he said timidly, fear resonating in his voice. His mother laughed lovingly and assured him the nightlight would provide sufficient lighting from whatever he feared would come forth from the darkness once she had left. Okay, but please check my closet before you go, he asked of his mother meekly. She decided to humor him and did as he asked. Once satisfied nothing was in there, he seemed a little more at
Humor
ease.
him.
His young
As
head
if like a
against
bee
the
on him.
soft pillow. She passed by his bed and kissed his forehead lovingly. "Good night, my sweet boy," she whispered as she stood upright. "I love you, Mommy," he chimed in.
He doesn't.
She left.
She didn't answer.
Just
She didn't say
before
I
she
love you
shut the
back.
door,
She's like, I don't
"I
love
you
him.
too, Aaron," she
Oh, no.
said with a smile on her face as the door sealed him in from the rest of the house. Once
What?
he had left, the room immediately became tenfold scarier.
I don't know.
The pale nightlight, rather than being reassuring, cast an eerie glow across the room, prompting shadows to dance in the darkness to some unheard
Doing that
tune.
Snoop Dogg dance? What is that
Aaron
called?
lay in bed, gripping the covers tightly at his chin. His mother had left the closet door ajar. If he but even closed his eyes with it unclosed, he would be vulnerable.
Mommy, I keep
to
seeing women
whatever he was
doing that
sure
Snoop Dogg dance
resided
move
in
on the
there.
wall.
Once the lights were off, he had to close it if he hoped to get any sleep. He looked around the room for
Oh, well,
some
you better
sort of
stop smoking
defense
weed, son.
against the creatures that might attack him.
You got yourself a
once
nasty
he
little
tried to
habit there.
disrupt their plan of escaping.
Seen you puffing.
His eyes happened upon the baseball bat propped up against the wall near the door. He scrambled out of bed, disrupting the dance of the shadows as his colossal shadow flickered across the room as he passed through the pale glow of the light on his way to his weapon. Holding
this
the
is kinda
bat
creepy.
in trembling hands, he scanned the room for any possible assailants. Aaron had
Bee
broke out
stand.
into a cold sweat. He could feel the shirt of his pajamas sticking tightly to
That's
his
probably a
torso
thing. I'm sure
as
there's a
his
bee
brow
person staying
accumulated
somewhere.
sweat. He wondered if the monsters could smell fear. If they could, he was in for it. He probably reeked of fear. And sweat, of course. He held the bat tight and took a step forward. He was going to shut the closet door. Each step
Do it
felt as
then,
though
bitch.
he was wearing lead boots. It was almost painful walking towards what very might be your death. Dead man walking, as they would say. The shadows had begun to dance again.
What?
Perhaps it was a dance of death. Aaron began to wonder what the monster would do to him if the bat could not protect him. He could almost see it slowly stretching out to its full size, towering above him, picking him up and bringing him closer to it, its horribly scarred face, full of blisters and warts, pouring out a gooey slime. The
What?
dead look in its eyes and row upon row of razor-sharp teeth. Would it bite his head clean off, or simply devour him whole? Aaron came back to reality, as he was now at the
Back
closet
to
door.
reality.
He turned back to check the room, once more to see if perhaps one of them had found a way around him. There was nothing. Thankfully he could see his room almost perfectly. His creased sheet lay half on the floor, half on the bed. Probably from when he had scrambled out of it.
Son, put your
The
baby away.
various toys scattered around the room seemed to have gathered to bear witness to the grand event that was about to unfold. The curtains rustled lightly. He had probably just forgotten to close the window properly. Aaron took a deep breath and decided he would face the monster rather than simply shutting the closet door. He exhaled quickly and swung the closet door wide open, bat high above his head and ready to face his doom. He breathed yet another deep breath, but the exhalation was more of a sigh of relief than anything. There was no monster. He felt emboldened by the fact he would have taken any monster head on. He was a warrior. At least in his eyes he was. He could take on anything. At the back of his mind he was almost disappointed now. His adrenaline was rushing. He could feel the blood in his cheeks and hear it in his ears. He was ready to fight a monster. He made his way back to his bed, but with his newfound bravery decided to close the window first. Usually Aaron would be too scared to open the curtain in the dark out of fear of what would be behind the curtain, or worse yet, what might be looking
Thought you were a
in
warrior.
from the outside. But he was brave now. He was a would-be monster killer. He could close a window, and bare looking out the dark window, he approached the curtain and flung the curtain back, bat prepped to swing at any monsters hiding behind it. Nothing. Dang, monsters are scared now, he thought, with a smile on his face. They know I'm not scared, and I've got a bat, he told himself. Reaching for the window, he saw it was closed. Realizing his eyes must have played a trick on him in the dark, with nothing but the pale light to provide for his sight, he returned to his
Nothing
bed
but the pale light.
and threw the bat at the foot of his bed before jumping on it. The adrenaline had washed over him, and he now felt ready for bed, confident in the fact that there were no monsters, as well as the fact he had conquered his fear by means of facing that which could have
He
possibly
raps for
been
assassins.
lurking in the closet. He reached over the edge of his bed. to
Before
pull
I
the
rap,
cover
I need to
that
know
had
one
been a
thing.
casualty of his fear,
How many
excitement,
people have you killed?
and had fallen to the ground. Groping for the covers, his heart skipped a beat.
And who do you work
as he
for?
felt not only the cover, but something much softer beneath the covers. He had probably dropped the covers on one of his many stuffed animals. He slung himself over the bed to retrieve not only the cover, but the stuffed animal too, as some company in bed would be very welcome after his ordeal and excitement. The smell washed over him.
Wait, what's under
First,
there?
as his head neared the edge of the bed. The smell has no description, but if one had to put a name to it, it smelled of death. It penetrated his nostrils. As it grew worse, he raised the covers, beneath which was not a stuffed animal, the decomposed face. It tried to smile, but the skin around its face was non-existent, and so the smile was just it bearing a few rotten teeth still in its head. "Why don't you come play down here with me, where it's nice and dark?" it said, as it reached a bony and fleshless hand up and pulled Aaron by the throat into the darkness. Thanks for watching The Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified of new content.
New content. We just saw this one. The grandma.
Odor does. Second week of glance back. Reached through the house will be all sorted bedroom on better in his own downwards.
Here we go. Yeah, he uses a lot of the same actors in these. That kid was just available.
When Sarah was
Parents
small,
were around, I guess.
she used to always be afraid of the dark. She hated the dark even more now, and she hated her own shadow. It started when she was 7 years old. Her and her twin sister were in their room, and they borrowed a horror book from their mom. Sarah was spooking her twin sister Katie out by pretending there was shadows going to get her and they were on the wall. Sarah realized that she could make shadows on the wall and spooked Katie out every time she turned around. Suddenly something fell and Katie got such a fright she backed back and fell off her bunk bed and out the top story window and was killed instantly. 15 years later, Sarah still gets flashbacks every time she sees her own shadow. She went to counselling and everything over it. She knew she had to get rid of her fear. She knew it was awful what happened, but she knew she had to finally put it behind her. She wasn't going to look at her shadow anymore. What Sarah couldn't see as she was walking down the street is her own shadow take out a knife. Suddenly she heard a voice saying, "Don't you think you can outrun your shadow?" Sarah was certain she had shook off her obsession of her shadow, but turned around because she knew that the voice was not in her head. She froze in horror because in all the years she just saw her shadow, not her shadow moving differently than her, and definitely not her shadow holding a knife. Suddenly the shadow lunged the knife into her and walked into her, then healed instantly and walked down the street.
What?
Katie was practicing walking down the street. Hi, my name is Sarah. Thanks for watching the Assassin Rapper, and if you enjoy the content,
Why did that happen? I don't get it. It healed instantly, and then she began practicing walking down the street. What? Is that what clip on YouTube? No. That's like something I made my own. It's just the sound from Unsolved Mysteries, though. If you want the song, it's the intro to Unsolved Mysteries. Alright, let's watch something else. Ba-ba-na-na-na. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Let's watch. The fuck have I watched lately? Da-da-da-da-da-da-dun. Da-da-da-dun. Nothing I would watch on stream. There we go. You guys down for an hour of Dark Pilgrimage? Testamentium Eternium? Wind, crows, cathedral bell sounds? That's a good one. That's a good one for just like working. In my opinion, at least. Just throw that on. Become a monk. A lot of people say this guy's a monk.
I used to love going to my local cinema, but I was so upset when I learned it was closing down. Just a few days before the closing date, I was so happy to learn that because of such high numbers of people going to the cinema, it decided to stay open. I was a very loyal customer, so one day I received a scroll like the Roman times, and written on it was, "We are happy to announce to you that you, being a loyal customer, we invite you to a showing of a very special movie. Please note that you are only permitted and no other person. Enjoy the movie."
You got a
was
scroll.
so excited.
Yo, I got a
few weeks
scroll.
ago, I thought the cinema was closing. Now it's thriving, and there's queues out the door. On top of that, I just got an invitation to a really cool movie. I didn't know what it was. It was a secret until it showed, but I felt really appreciated being given the invitation. The movie was on Halloween night. I had planned to go to a party, but I no way could pass up on this offer. I arrived at the cinema at 7:30 on Halloween night, expecting a huge queue as always. But I was very surprised when there was no one in the queue, just one security man on the door who asked
Well, it's
to
like
see
some fucking
my
shitty
invitation,
movie.
and a girl inside at the box office. She smiled at me and said, "Good evening, sir. May I see your invitation?" I showed her the scroll, and she gestured with her hand towards screen 1 and said, "Screen 1, sir, enjoy the movie." I thanked her and excitedly went into the cinema. I looked around, and
love
to
when he
my
says cinema.
astonishment, there was no one else in the cinema, just empty seats.
You can see the
last
passion.
few weeks, there wasn't an empty seat in the place. I wondered should I go out to buy some popcorn, but just relaxed in my
It's
seat
smart,
first. The door opened and another person came in. I don't know why, but I felt strange being in the cinema alone with this guy. There was some kind of strange negative energy off him. He walked up to
He
the
just
front
starts
seat
shitting
of
on the
cinema.
fucking stage.
I was down the back. The lights went off.
Little
and the
did I
message
know
appeared on the screen.
that I had been
It
invited
read,
to a
"We
weird
have invited you to this very special movie to show our appreciation for your help in helping this cinema thrive." All of a sudden, the guy ran up to me and I got such a fright.
What?
But it was just me being paranoid, as he was just putting something in the bin behind me. Then he walked back to the front and
What?
sat down again. The title of the movie appeared on the screen. It read Locked In. I've never heard of this movie before and wondered what was it about. Suddenly the guy got up again and ran back, but luckily he passed me. I was relieved.
What the
until I
fuck?
realized he was standing by the door. I wondered what was he doing. Maybe he just didn't want to miss the start of the movie and was going to buy some popcorn. But then, fear rose up inside me, and my heart pounded in my chest. I could hear the thumping in my ears. He put a lock on the door, locking it. I thought of the name of the movie, Locked In. I didn't know what else to say but ask him what was going on. He looked at me with an evil, sinister stare. "Relax. You were one of the main reasons this cinema is thriving now." I didn't understand until the movie started playing. It was the owner of the cinema on the screen. It was all beginning to get scarier and scarier. He started to speak.
Oh,
"Welcome
fuck.
to the cinema, my good friend. Just a few short weeks ago, we were to close down because we weren't getting enough business. As you can see, the last few weeks we are thriving, and that is down to one thing. I practice black magic, you see. I had an amazing chance at saving this cinema, so I welcomed it with open arms. I made a pact with the devil. All he asked was one sacrifice of a very, very loyal customer every Halloween. And as long as I do this, well then, this cinema will have a roaring trade. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and hearing. The man behind me got out a huge knife and shouted, "Hail Satan!" I ran down to the fire exit, hoping it would be open, and thankfully it was. I ran
There was a
straight to
door
the
open
police
the whole
station
time.
and told them everything. But
There was
they
a door
didn't
open the
believe me,
entire
and I worry
time.
what will happen next Halloween. I haven't and wouldn't darken the door of that cinema ever again.
He just like sat there for that to happen to him. What the fuck is wrong with him? Yeah, why didn't they lock the other? It's alright. It's alright. It doesn't have to make sense. I guess. Now what? How about how about something different? Now, you know what? Oh, never mind. Never mind. Yeah, we could do a Tom Scott video. Not that one. How about yeah, Eternal Darkness is pretty fun. Pretty good.
A few weeks ago, I was looking
There we
through
go.
records in the British National Archives for a separate video idea that didn't end up going anywhere. But while I was researching, I found a completely different report, secret and restricted when it was written, but now unclassified. And it was the first time in a long while that I've read some old archive file and my jaw has literally dropped. It was called Possible Sites for Completely Contained Nuclear Explosions in North Yorkshire. North Yorkshire is a beautiful area that includes 2 national parks. This is the middle of one of them. It is stunning, it is historic, it is not somewhere that I expect anyone to try and set off a nuclear explosion. The report was written in June 1969, so just for context, we're talking full space race, white heat of technology era. Neil Armstrong would set foot on the moon only about a month after that report was written, and the report is talking about peaceful nuclear explosions, which was an idea that was in fashion among some nuclear scientists and policymakers at the time. Maybe, the theory went, we could create artificial harbours and canals using nuclear bombs. No more years of mechanical digging, just put a few well-placed nukes in the ground and boom, 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 there's your new canal. Or maybe we could help stimulate production in gas wells, basically nuclear fracking. Or, and this was charitably the most practical idea, create enormous underground cavities for gas storage instead of having to use
Those
big
diagrams are
above-ground
so
tanks.
cool.
The US did run a couple of dozen nuclear tests like that under the rather biblical title Operation Plowshare. The Soviet Union eventually ran more than 200. But those are stories that have already been told by a lot of other people. By the 1970s, the US and the Soviets would work out that it was a bad idea. If you use a nuke either for fracking or to create underground gas storage, the radiation ends up contaminating the gas. But until that was figured out, well, I don't think many people have actually noticed the records about it since it was declassified, but it turns out that at least some people in the UK were interested as well. Those people worked at the Gas Council and the Atomic Weapons Research Establishment, and the report shows that they were seriously trying to work out if nuclear bomb gas storage caverns were a good idea. I kept
Nuclear
researching
bomb
and found
gas
they commissioned a full
storage
study,
caverns.
laying out the pros and cons, comparing the cost to other methods of storage. They had picked a site, which was here. Actually, literally, exactly there, bottom of that ravine, Wheeldale, in the middle of the North Yorkshire Moors National Park. The plan was buy all the land for about a mile around, drill down 2,000 feet, about 600 metres with a special extra wide drill bit, big enough so they could drop a 25 kiloton nuclear bomb down to the bottom of the hole. I say drop, lower. It's a big enough bomb to annihilate a city in the open air. Plug up the hole, cover the top so nothing comes out, hopefully. Evacuate the 1,000 or so people who live nearby, just in case. And then, boom. Not much would happen on the surface. There'd be a bit of a jolt and a rumble, a few birds startled into the air. The local towns of Pickering and Whitby, about 10 miles away each, they'd feel a minor earthquake, and maybe a couple of buildings would get a few small cracks in them. I'm not kidding, that's what the report actually says. It just phrases it a little bit more delicately than that. It's not clear whether the locals would actually have been told what was going on, but I think it would have been
They
impossible.
would not have told them.
After that, they would let the giant cavern that had been created 600 metres down cool for a few months and then flush out and remove most of the radioactive stuff that was left behind, which it turns out would have been a lot more difficult than they thought at the time. Finally, they'd put some pumping equipment in here at the top and presto,
If it didn't cause like a
giant
massive
underground
fucking
high-pressure gas storage tank for relatively not much money.
chain
And after a couple
reaction
of
in the
years, they
first
could
place.
sell most of this land back. Cost of the explosion
Open
in
up like
today's money,
another
adjusted for
giant
inflation,
cavern down there.
about £9 million,
Monsters.
which is not actually bad for a giant gas storage tank. I suspect that was a very optimistic estimate, though. Even that was a bit more expensive than setting up liquid natural gas storage above ground, but once you've made the cavern, it's much cheaper to run this way. If, that is, the explosion works as predicted, and if there's really no radiation left over. There were a lot of risks. Now, as far as I can tell, this never got anywhere near the Prime Minister's desk. There was never some high-up government meeting trying to work out whether they should nuke a bit of a national park. I suspect it would have been a very bad political decision, and a very bad environmental decision, and a very bad financial decision. And look, I'm sure there is some possible alternate history where this happened, but things would need to have been very different. The last reference I could find is from November 1969. The plan was worked out in theory, and the minutes of the meeting from then say that further thought would be given to what action should follow. And at some point in some other record that I missed, or maybe that is still restricted, I'm sure there'll be a note that says they decided not to pursue the idea. Peaceful nuclear explosions would eventually be banned by treaty, conveniently just after the point at which the US and Russia found out they weren't a great idea, and the North Yorkshire Moors, thankfully, were never nuked.
Or they did it a little bit. And Tom Scott is just, you know, working against it, man. It's all plot. All a conspiracy. What Tom Scott's known for. All right. But seriously,
Have you ever read a fact somewhere and
it's just a fun video.
not believed it? This is
We
Newlyn
don't have to
in Cornwall, in the far southwest of England. When the British government's maps say
get
the
angry
mountain
about
peak is so many metres above sea level, they are talking about this sea level, the average
some
sea
video
level
for no
here.
reason.
There's a little
Try
hut
to lighten up
on
a
that
little bit.
harbour wall, and underneath it there is a narrow vertical well that connects to the ocean. So the height of the water in that well is the height of the tide. The waves don't make a difference. So for 6 years, 1915 to 1921, automatic equipment and
We know
human
bomb bad.
tidal observers measured the sea level here, and the average of all those measurements became the Newlyn
I get it.
datum, the 0 point from which all heights in Britain are measured. The land here is solid granite,
Bomb bad,
stable
bomb-
to deep tides,
bomb
so
kill
it
people.
seemed like a reasonable place to use as a baseline. So that's fine. That's all sensible. The fact that I didn't believe is this whole part of Britain, the whole Cornish Peninsula for hundreds of miles, rises up and falls down by several centimetres twice a day, measurably, because of the weight of the tides. Now, if that was true, it'd be common knowledge, surely. And wouldn't it cause earthquakes every day? I read that, and honestly, I didn't believe it, even as I looked round and started to find peer-reviewed papers about it. So I arranged to talk to one of the authors of one of those papers, a world expert on ocean tide loading, and yeah.
On some days, Cornwall might only move up and down by 3 or 4 centimetres compared to its sort of average position, whereas on other days, the movement might be 7 or 8 centimetres, so a total range of maybe even 15 centimetres. There's a horizontal movement that's about a third or so, typically, of the vertical movement in most places. So how we've measured the movement of Cornwall and other places is using GPS, the Global Positioning System. And we can measure that distance really very precisely indeed at something like the 2 or 3 millimetre level of precision. Now, there are a lot of errors that cause a bias in this measurement that we have to deal with the effect of, for example,
Like I said, I'm sure there's some
changing
fucking
speed
forum you can
of
go
the
argue
radio
about
signal as it goes through
nuclear
different layers of
power
the Earth's
in.
atmosphere and so on. But what we can do is we can make huge
But for the
numbers
purposes of us
Our
chat
measurement of
and
the
stream,
average tidal
lighten the
motion
fuck up.
becomes very, very accurate and precise indeed. So we measure that tidal signal not just over one tidal cycle, but actually over a period of 3 or 4 years,
We
maybe even as
know,
much
we
as 10 or
know,
12 years.
bomb bad.
It makes sense, I guess, that the weight
Get
of
it.
water would compress what's underneath it. A few back-of-the-envelope calculations, and you can work out that there are gigatons of water moving out there, in and out, twice a day. And yeah, at the most extreme high and low tides, this whole area can move as much as 6 or 7 centimetres up and down. But why does it happen here and not everywhere else?
The gravitational forces of the sun and the moon that are what's causing the ocean to move in the tides just happen to synchronize more or less in their timescale with the way in which the North Atlantic is able to move. It's just a little bit like if you have a glass of juice, that if you swirl it around at just the right speed,
It's
you can
just like
build
a
up
glass
quite a
of
big
juice.
slosh around the edges of the glass. Whereas if you swirl it at completely the wrong speed, as it were, for that glass, then you get a much smaller amount of motion. Around the coastlines of the major oceans are the places where the tidal loading is generally larger. So around Western Europe, Greenland, and through to the Bay of Fundy, around the Atlantic coast there, around the Gulf of Alaska, and also around New Zealand. So the reason it doesn't start causing big things
It's a
like
pretty map.
earthquakes is, again, because these movements, although they add up to something appreciable and measurable by our new modern accurate techniques, are actually very small relative to the scale of the whole Earth. But that's sufficient for the most accurate engineering work to need to worry about this problem.
Thanks so much to Professor Clark. I've put links to him and to the papers that I read in the description.
Professor Clark. Kind of like very unnerving how quickly geology can just like destroy the entire world if we weren't paying attention to it. Some fucking cliff slides off the side of Africa. Giant wave just wipes out all of the eastern seaboard. This is
Over
the
the
one
years
I've
I've
been
been
wanting
making
to watch.
videos, lots of people have suggested that
This
I
one
should
keeps
see the
coming up.
Hallig Islands in Germany. Mostly because of the tiny trains. Every few years, some media outlet does a story about how the people who live out on the islands have their own personal trains to get them to and from the mainland. And yes, I'm going to talk about those.
That little tiny
but the
fucking
story here
train.
is way more interesting than that. Although, yes, the best way to get to some of the Hallig Islands from the mainland is on board tiny trains. And the railway staff here are going to let me take a ride.
Die Strecke hier
Kind of sounds like Hallig Tree.
Rüber zur Hallig Nordstrandisch Moor, die ist etwa 3 Kilometer lang und läuft über einen Wattsicherungsdamm. Also es gibt bloß diese eine Strecke ohne irgendwie eine Verzweigung. Es ist halt nur ein Gleis, es gibt eine Ausweiche. Ansonsten, so viel Verkehr ist hier nicht. Hilft man sich halt, wer zuerst da ist, der hat dann halt Vorrecht.
But there's a bigger question. Why is there a tiny railroad here? Who builds a railroad instead of just a road? Los geht's!
Diese Bahn ist eigentlich gebaut, um Material auf die Hallig zu bekommen, Küstenschutzmaterial. Also die Gleise liegen auf einem Wattsicherungsdamm. Der ist erforderlich, um eben das Watt zu sichern
sounds like
und
Hallig
die
Tree.
Kiele und die Nordsee weiter draußen zu halten. Und man hat dann
Especially
eben,
like
um
this
das
location, it
Material
makes me
darüber zu
think of
bekommen, hat
that.
man diese kleine Eisenbahn darauf gebaut.
If you're building sea defences in the 1930s and you need to get a load of heavy material across a tidal flat,
That's
well,
fucking
rail is your most efficient option. And to understand why they need those
really weird
defences,
looking.
we need to take a look at the bigger picture. But unfortunately, I'm not allowed to fly a drone here because this is a wildlife preserve. But if you look at aerial images, you can see that the whole of this area, the North German coast, is protected by these barrier islands. This area is the Wadden Sea, hundreds of kilometres of sandbars and mudflats that act as a natural wave break and storm defence. That's what they were boosting with the earthworks here. Manage these islands correctly.
Look at that
you'll
fucking
protect
train.
all the cities on the mainland from flooding. Plus, people have lived on these islands for centuries now. They'll happily take the storm defence for themselves and the free railroad that comes with it.
Für touristische Nutzung ist diese Bahn nicht gedacht, also die ist einzig für den Küstenschutz. Und dann haben die Halligbewohner die Erlaubnis, eine eigene private Lore zu nutzen, wie sie hier im Vordergrund steht. Und die können dann halt rüberfahren.
Denn jede Lore ist ein Unikat, also ein Prototyp im Endeffekt. Man macht jedes Mal, wenn man die neu baut, die halten ja nicht ewig, die meisten bauen wir ja selber irgendwie zusammen, macht man was anders und verändert daran wieder. Also die sind schon relativ wartungsintensiv und auch relativ teuer. Das ganze Antriebssystem, also unter 15.000 € ist es fast nicht möglich, eine Lore zu bauen. Genau, jeder muss sich selber um seine Loren irgendwie kümmern. Man kann die nicht halt von der Stange kaufen, so als wenn ich jetzt zu einem großen Autohaus hingehe und sage, das Auto hätte ich gern, das funktioniert mit den Loren eben nicht. Und die Mindestanforderung ist, dass man 15 Jahre alt ist und so einen Mofa-Führerschein hat. Die ersten Loren, das waren nur Wagen, Plattformwagen, die sind von Hand geschoben worden und ein kleiner Mast war da dran. So hat man das tatsächlich angefangen.
One of the problems with living on what's basically a bit of sea defence is that you're going to be the one that gets flooded. These islands go mostly underwater 50 or 60 times a year, usually in winter. The local term for it translates.
Oh, they actually go underwater.
Under. The houses are up on mounds to protect them, and they're built high enough for now. But one of the reasons that the railway is still in regular use is that it's still helping to build the sea defences.
Mit Pfählen und Verschienen bauen wir so Zäune ins Watt. Dadurch soll das Wasser sich beruhigen und Sedimente sollen sich absetzen. Und so kommt es zu einer Erhöhung des Vorlands. Das geht sehr langsam voran, aber ja, jeden Tag ein bisschen und das bringt dann auch irgendwann was.
Ja, Land unter für uns bedeutet, dass wir alles, was unten ist, hochholen müssen. Aber wenn dann alles in Sicherheit ist, ist das was Schönes. Land unter bedeutet für uns im Sommer ein bisschen mehr Arbeit, weil man eben im Sommermodus ist und alles ist unten auf den Feldern.
I didn't know any of this was like this out there.
Werden. Aber im Winter, wenn wir dann im Wintermodus sind, dann ist es für uns nicht so schlimm, weil dann sind wir mehr vorbereitet darauf. Und es ist auch nicht so, dass wir jetzt wochenlang unter Wasser stehen. Das ist nur für ein paar Stunden in der Regel.
It seems strange to describe an
Wonder what like
island
happens to that
as something
building.
that needs to be kept healthy, but
Stays up a little
that's why
bit.
the railway's here. Yes, the
I guess
locals
it's like
have
on a
their own
hill, kind
trains.
of.
Very rarely, if they're staying on the island, tourists can ride to, and it looks quirky and interesting. But the reason behind it is to stop these islands and eventually the mainland being flooded by rising seas.
He just rides off into the distance.
Hello, I'm Jenny. This is a
Hello.
memory that I have from my childhood that still to this day I have no idea what it was. So, I was born in Texas, raised in Mexico, and my parents wanted me to stay in Mexico. I grew up with my grandma.
For a
but
second, I was
never
like,
knew
where
my
the fuck
grandpa
are
at
we?
the time. But it was the first week of school, and I was 3 years old at the
I
time.
think it was called
and headed to
Helvelta,
preschool.
wasn't it? Helvelta Island.
When I was in school and finished my classes, I always went to these arcade games with some friends. But my grandma always got mad at me because I returned so late, like around 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., and I also had school the next day. One day, I went to school and then to the arcade games with my friends, and I'm not gonna lie, it was 1 a.m., and my grandma was waiting for me. But she said, "If you return late again, the weeping woman will come and get you." Honestly, I never believed in anything paranormal or ghost, so I didn't care.
Jesus,
For
this
those
grandma.
who don't know, the weeping woman is a legend
Fucking
that goes
chill,
on in
grandma.
Mexico. And in Mexico,
I'm gonna
they
go
call
out.
her La Loria.
Oh yeah, you're gonna
But she
die.
caught her husband cheating, so she grabbed her children and drowned them, and she also drowned herself.
Damn,
And there's
grandma.
a rumor that she
Fucking.
can be heard at night crying, saying,
Can anyone
"Where
have
are
fun
my
if you can't?
children? Oh, my children." So one day, it was a Friday, and I went to school as usual. My friend said if I wanted to go to the arcade games because they were going to celebrate one of my friend's birthday. So I did, and then it went past 12 p.m., and I told my friends I was leaving because I didn't want my grandma to
I'm
get mad at me
leaving.
again. So I was walking, and in Mexico, there's not that much lighting, so it was pretty dark.
What?
I noticed that one of my friends
Like,
that
not
went
a
to
lot of,
school was with
like,
a lady in a white dress.
streetlights?
But she had long black hair and she was
It's
very
kind of dark
pretty.
in Mexico.
So I passed them and said, "Good evening." But my friend and the lady didn't answer. I thought it was pretty rude, and they were walking to the very dark street. So I
He's
said,
dead.
they probably having a bad day, and continued
What?
walking. So I went to my house, and my grandma was sitting in the couch waiting for me as usual.
In the
And I
couch.
decided to tell her, but she didn't
Danny
respond to
DeVito
me.
hiding in the
She
couch.
just stared at me. So I took a shower and went to sleep. The next day, my grandma told me to go buy vegetables to make breakfast.
This is the
So I
third
grabbed the
La
bag that she handed me and
Llorona
went to the
story I've
grocery
heard in like
store.
the past
When
3
I was in the
days.
grocery store, I was about to check out, and I saw a sign about my friend that I saw last night, and my friend was missing. And I asked the lady who was checking me out, "Ma'am, what happened to that kid that went missing?" She said, "This lady in a white dress with black hair took him to the lake and
Why does it
drowned
just say
him."
cash up there?
My heart dropped, and then I said, "What happened to the lady?" She said, "The police was looking for her but never found her. Also, there has been reports of kids going missing." I didn't know what to say, so I just paid the lady and grabbed the things I bought. I went home and told my
Yeah, they made a
was in
shitty
complete shock.
Conjuring
So then
movie
she
about
said,
La Llorona.
"That happens to the kids
La
that are bad.
Llorona.
That woman
I
is
cannot
not human."
say it right now.
So then I told my grandma, "Grandma, stop telling me those things. I don't believe in anything of that."
Motor skills breaking
I was
down.
getting a little mad, but she said this, "You'll see someday, and you will believe." So I went to my room and said, "Yeah, sure." At night, I finished my homework and went to sleep. But around
Llorona.
3 a.m., I was hearing a woman crying and screaming at the top of her lungs. So then I heard, "My children!" I got up, looked at the window. I couldn't believe my eyes. There she was. The same lady I saw with my friend was right there. She didn't see me, but she went to the
Damn.
very dark street that I saw her go with my friend that went missing. I hid under my covers and fell asleep. In the morning, I told my grandma, and she believed me. I said, "Grandma, you're
I
right.
believe you.
I saw her last night." She said, "I told you she's real." So then months passed and I haven't
Grandma.
seen her.
Fucking cold.
Unfortunately, my grandma passed away. In fact, I went back to Texas and stayed there. I'm 17 years old now, and I can't never get that memory out of my head.
Grandma's bedside manner. If you go out tonight, you're gonna get kidnapped. And I won't care.
In December of 2006, I was 15 years old at the time. I had an extreme fear of the dark. While laying in bed, I would always cover my mirror, or I'd face the opposite side of the room that my mirror was on. I'd also make sure that I didn't stare at any dark corners of my room, along with my closet, which was very dark space that I couldn't help but face because it was on the opposite side of the room from my mirror. The next thing was that if I look in the mirror from my bed, I could see my closet. So one night, for some reason, I decided that I wanted to get over my fear of the dark. When I went to bed, I didn't cover up my mirror.
For some reason.
Didn't put my head under the covers, nor did I face the opposite
The
side
mirror
of the
room? Where does
from
he
my
have
mirror.
that?
I laid down, turned my lamp off, and stared at my mirror. Then I guess I fell asleep. When I woke up, I was looking at my door. Then I panned my eyes over to my mirror. And to my surprise, there was someone standing in the darkness of my closet that I saw in the mirror. I fumbled to
There's
turn
a
on my
mirror in
lamp,
the closet.
and I looked at my closet, but no one was there. I told my parents what happened. For some reason, they said it was my imagination. My 15-year-old imagination, I guess. I told them that I wasn't 3 years old and I
15?
know what I saw. A week later, I got up in the middle
It was
of
like-
the night to use the bathroom, and I looked in the mirror, surprisingly seeing the same dark figure in my mirror. But he was closer to my bed. A lot closer. I ran screaming out of my room and told my parents again. I told them that there's no way that I will sleep in my room again. So my father said he was sleeping there, starting the next night.
Got that Jerma
in
cut?
which I pleaded for him not to do it. Of course, he didn't listen and went anyway. The first few nights, there was nothing happening. My father didn't understand what scared me, but insisted that I never go in the room again.
A
I'd
demon
go in there
face
and
on the
grab
wall.
anything
The
that I
fuck?
needed. One night, my parents were placing more gifts under our Christmas tree, while joking about the so-called monster in my room, as my father says. This whole time while he slept in my room, I slept in his with my mother, but I was on the floor. We all watched the movie and went to bed like usual. But my mother and I watched the Grinch movie, and that's when I guess I dozed
Wait,
off.
they slept on the couch normally?
My mother and I were startled hearing my father scream like that. We both ran into
What?
my room. My father was grabbing his left arm in the left side of his chest area.
He's having a heart
At
attack?
the same time, he was pointing at the mirror with a startled look. My mother screamed for me to call 911, in which I ran to another room to call. When I came back, my mother was crying uncontrollably, and my father wasn't moving anymore. His eyes were wide open in the direction of the mirror.
Dude, he
that
tried to
stuck
take a
on it.
way too
My
much
father
ice
passed
cream
away from a
at one
massive heart
time.
attack. After that night, my uncles and grandparents helped us move out because we didn't want to stay there anymore. My grandfather found a journal on the nightstand next to my bed. I never put it there. My mother looked at it and said it was my father's handwriting. What we didn't know was that my father kept a log for every night that he slept in my room. He mentioned that he saw someone in the mirror, and every night he would get closer to the point that the dark figure was standing over the bed. He just didn't tell anyone because he didn't want to scare us. I really don't know what to think, honestly. Is this my fault that he's dead? I know our Christmas that year was not joyful as we wanted it to be.
What Cthulhu's just there. Okay, the whole thing was pretty serious until that moment. They're like, all right, we need something funny at the end here.